Hi, welcome back to Keep It Dirty, a podcast where my guests share their life living functionally and sustainably, and their why behind their experiences navigating through our ever changing environment. I am your host, Leslie Dowling. I'm a functional nutrition and lifestyle practitioner and corporate speaker. Today, it is my pleasure to welcome my guest, Erica D'Andrea. Erica is a graduate of the Fashion Institute of Technology with a 2-decade-long career in corporate retail merchandising, buying, and planning. She holds a true love for and deep respect for the fashion and apparel industry. Black, White, Gray was born out of the idea that investing in classic wardrobe staples and owning fewer but more impactful pieces is the key to creating the most versatile look from your closet. Black, White, Gray features an in essentials line, timeless styles available to shop year round. These pieces form the foundation of a classic wardrobe designed to be paired with one another and with items you already own, allowing you to build countless looks, regardless of the season or occasion. Each season, a carefully curated capsule collection is introduced to refresh and update your wardrobe. Think crisp white gauze and linen for summer, Italian wool and alpaca styles for fall and winter, and soft cottons and silky dresses for those special springtime events. Styles are sourced from American designers and manufacturers whenever possible, and globally from reputable brands that respect both the planet and their employees. This is where you'll find your wardrobe staples. Erica's first love is really when with the apparel industry while shopping at the historic original outlets in her hometown in Reading, Pennsylvania. So it is my pleasure to introduce to you everyone Erica D'Andrea. Thank you for being on my show today. How are you?
Thank you, Leslie. I'm doing great. It's really a pleasure to be here talking with you. Thank you for inviting me to have a nice conversation with you today. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So I just love supporting local businesses, people that are truly passionate about what they do, and really just being very environmentally aware of what's going on our planet. So I'd love to ask you what was a driving force as to what you're doing today?
Yeah, so as you just read in what appeared to be a very long bio,
I loved it.
yes, thank you. It really did start when I was little. You know, you go shopping with your family, your mom, your grandmother, and as you know, here in Wyomissing and in downtown Reading, the outlets really were foundational in this area's growth, back in the early 90s. And just seeing people come here, which I'm sure you remember, by the busloads, the traffic to go on those first floors of those original factories like Vanity Fair, where the seconds and the mishaps would be down there at bargain basement prices. I don't know. It just lit a little fire inside of me then, that hunt for that little error, but no one could see it on that perfect dress or whatever you were looking for. And also that time with your mom and your grandmothers. I don't know. It just was a core memory, I guess you'd call it, for me. And also spending time in Boscov's, which I'm very proud to say I was a part of for a good portion of my career. You want to talk about a local family owned but very impactful organizations still operating at very high levels and growing. It's spending time in those types of stores, really, like I said, lit that fire. And when I realized in college that you could study fashion, I'm not a designer, but the fact that you could study how to buy into a store like Boscov's or, financially plan for it, merchandise it, window dress, just really, really excited me. And after I graduated from Kutztown, I moved to New York and got another degree at the Fashion Institute and immediately moved to Philadelphia and worked in the retail industry at a corporate level and didn't stop until after I had my second child. After I had her, I found myself wearing the same uniform day in and day out. It was comfortable pieces. They were black, white, and gray items. I don't want to say they were mostly American made because I'm not sure at that very exhausting time of your life. You know, sometimes your focus is on let's just survive throughout the day. But I was definitely focused on I want to look nice. I want to look put together really quickly. I need things in my closet that I can grab and go and look like I've made an effort. And especially as a young mom, you don't always have time to even shop online. And even if you do, does it fit when it gets to your house? I mean, you know, now you have this baby and you're like, I don't have time to return this. I just had all of these ideas in my mind that if I was going back to work, it wasn't going to be in, you know, the corporate area. There aren't too many fashion based companies here in Reading, Pennsylvania. So it was either, you know, Boscov's, go back to my family at Boscov's, or start something on my own in a small capacity. And that's what I chose to do. Once my daughter went to school full time in kindergarten was when I traveled. I made my first buying trip into New York. And that's when it started about 4 years ago now.
Wow. So it just reminds me of like Donna Karen, or like where you could swap out, switch things, interchange, interplay, comfortable, but look just put together, sophisticated. Who who was your role model in the fashion industry? What designer really did you, look up to?
That's an excellent question. I default to Ralph Lauren.
Mm,
He is like the epitome of put together American clothing, not only clothing, but just a lifestyle, you know, very
mm,
basic silhouettes. It's basically the same thing over and over again every season, yet he still has a thriving business today. You know, I love a good button down, a white button down, and that polo pony just, I don't know, it's a global icon. And what he did to build that and just shoving it in your face through the ads, you know, in magazines, which aren't really a thing anymore, but were when I was younger. You know, it just left an imprint that you can wear the same thing year after year in multiple different situations as long as you take care of it, which is another really important part of what I try to communicate with what I sell at Black, White, Gray is
yeah.
care for the money you're investing in what you're buying, whether it's from the website or any store.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because I guess my father was an import manager. He was in the textile industry. My mother was a hosiery designer in the 50s and 60s, used to fly to Berkshire Hosiery for sales meetings, which was in Why I'm Missing, where Vanity Fair was. But I just remember as a little girl going to Europe with them and sitting in these cafes, and all of the Europeans, they only had a couple of great pieces in their closets because
Yep.
they lived in these flats that it wasn't huge closets like here that what we have in the US. But everybody was always put together, styled like a great navy blue blazer or wonderful white pants or just like this Hermes scarf,
Mm-hmm.
just something to pull it all together. And I
Exactly.
think it's great that you're kind of educating us and really showing people, just having a lot doesn't mean you're going to look. It's those great pieces that you could mix and match, which I love to hear.
Exactly. I had an experience. I lived in Italy for an extended period of time and had a very good friend there. You know, we'd go out for dinners, we'd go out dancing, and she would wear this dress over and over again. I'm like, Liana, why do you keep wearing the same dress? And she's like, Erica, it's a beautiful floral pattern. It looks great on me. Why am I going to keep going out, spend my money, like you just said, with the closet space? There is no closet space. Why would I waste my time and my money? I look great. Everyone should enjoy the way that I look. And yes, that's, you know, her saying that to me, you know, this American arriving in Rome with like 6 suitcases. It's like, what are you doing? You're going to wear the same 3 things anyways, and you've wasted all of your time. So, yeah, less is definitely more.
So I have a question for you regarding, okay, less is more. I have so much that I don't want to give up samples and things over the years being in the industry. But how do you get yourself to get yourself in a mindset that we probably wear, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, maybe 10% of what is in our wardrobe, right?
Absolutely.
So how do you justify letting go of things? Like I need to purge and just have some great pieces, but I'm like, oh, but I wore this in my 20s and it's coming back. Or so how do you clean your closet and just let it go and not be a hoarder like I am with clothing?
So I don't know if anyone would agree with this. I don't necessarily care. It's just my experience. Clothing can certainly have an emotional attachment. Look at a wedding dress.
Yeah.
I mean, it was with you at a very important stage in your life. And so can a watch, so can a tablecloth, so can a piece of furniture. You shouldn't ever get rid of something that truly means something to you. And I think if you line things up, maybe in small batches, if you do have a lot of anything, because once we all get overwhelmed, we just quit. Small batches. And if something really does have sentimental value, by all means, you shouldn't get rid of it. But if it can be used by someone in a donation type environment, or someone, maybe someone younger who, or older, whatever, I'm saying younger for me, like a
Yeah.
younger girl who's going to
Yeah.
wear something that I'm literally never going to wear again. I mean, let it have some life, let it see some of the light of day. My rule is if I haven't worn it in a year and it doesn't have sentimental value,
Mm,
it has to go.
I like that.
Because you're not going to wear it. If you haven't worn it in 365 days and it's not meaningful,
Yeah.
you should probably donate, sell, gift.
I'll have to write that down on these like sticky notes and just
Yeah.
be like, let it go, let it go.
Yeah. Yes.
Um, so true. So
Yeah.
in your bio, you mentioned about respecting both the planet and employees. Can
Yeah.
you kind of elaborate on that?
Oh, yeah. I would love to. It's really important. I'm going to go back to my kids because, people say everything changes when you have children. And for me, it certainly was true. I'm going to talk a lot about one of the manufacturers and brands that I carry. It's called LA Made.
Hmm.
And they so eloquently explain a lot of their reasons why they do what they do. And it matches with the way that I think. Elber, the owner, his parents started the business. They're Chinese immigrants to the US. On one of Elber's like YouTube, company bios, he explains saying, if the t-shirt you're buying or whatever piece of clothing you're buying is less than your cup of coffee, you should probably ask some questions and be concerned because something's not right. Clothing shouldn't be that inexpensive. So after I had my kids, I just could never imagine, Bella or Frank ever being born into a country or a part of the world where when they're 4 years old, they're in a dye house or sewing shoes on the floor or, putting together a handbag or sewing my shirt. It
Yeah.
was like an epiphany. Like this, I can't believe that in the world that we live in, this is allowed, or in some places is a necessity because of the poverty level. When clothing is made in the United States, there are and you know this, Leslie, there's very regulated laws, practices, safety standards that, yes, do bad things happen in America? Absolutely. Are
Hmm.
there bad cases? Yes. But for the most part, when you're buying American made merchandise, it's a safe bet that a child did not make it. It wasn't in a sweatshop. And that's number one for me, is a respect for the employees.
Hmm.
Retail and making clothing and accessories is very labor intensive. It is, if you're sewing, you know this, you're hunched over a sewing machine for 8+ hours a day. If you're dyeing merchandise, you're dealing with chemicals. Treating these people who make these pieces of clothing that you literally live your lives in is, I think, something that should be important to everyone. I did print out, part of LA Made's mission statement. I hope it's okay that I read that because
This is your platform. This, please, yes, we'd love to hear it.
Elber states that our mission, made in LA with love. As an active member of the slow fashion community, LA Made knows just how important the people behind the clothes are. Established in 2004 by immigrants who came to the US with the American dream, we made it our mission to create ethical, contemporary women's clothing that wasn't created at the expense of our employees. And what he does and what trickles down the entire factory, the corporate office, is living wages for everyone. You know, a lot of their employees are immigrants to the US. And it was important to his parents that the next round and the next round of immigrants to the US have the opportunity that they created. They get health insurance, they get paid vacation, they get paid sick leave. And I think to a lot of Americans, not only do we take these types of things for granted, but we wouldn't even think that why would this be an issue? But it is, especially in fashion. Choosing a company like LA Made, which, by the way, the other manufacturers that I work with are all extremely similar on this level. This is how every one of the employees are treated. I wouldn't work with or carry something. There's no way that I would ever seek a profit. And I would hope many business owners wouldn't seek a profit off of, you know, someone being treated lesser than. So to answer the question on supporting sustainability and employees and the planet, this company is a really good spokesperson as to what I buy for the website and keep all year round for my customers to shop.
That's wonderful. And thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
for all that you do and to support. And yeah, it's bittersweet because when my family emigrated here, my grandmother used to share with me that she was thrown into a coat factory at 14, coming from Italy. She resented it. She didn't want to be doing this. And that was her life, doing piece,
Yeah.
and worked really hard, multiple jobs to put my uncle through no longer at Georgetown University. They had a dental program, but he used to sit there all night and then just take the needles and put the threads through, thread the needles,
Yeah.
he would tell stories about this. So I grew up with real stories of people immigrating here. This was the land of opportunity, but
Absolutely.
factories were just horrendous. On a dare, when I was in school for design, my father and he said, well, let's see how long you'll last doing piecework. So I went to the knitting mill where he ran the knitting mill. And the more I tried to produce with doing the same repetitive movement in this hot factory, even though they had fans going, looking around me, people were there for 30, 40 years, I would mess up. And the more I would try, the more the sleeves would come out really bad. So they stuck me in shipping. But I wanted to experience that
Yeah.
to really understand what people go through, even
Yeah.
though it was not like back in the 20s and early 1900s when things started to change.
Yes.
But to your point, sorry, I
Oh,
thought I'd
no.
say that, but we all have some sort of connection and understanding. And thank God there are people like you that are supporting and really wanting to respect the planet and employees and give them fair, a way to get through and to work hard, but also to provide for your employees. So that's very interesting.
Well, thank you. Thank you for acknowledging that. That's very nice of you. It's really about them. It's an acknowledgement of the employees and their
Yeah.
tireless dedication to this. I mean, like you said, sometimes this is a career.
Hmm.
I mean, I am not a sewer. That is not my skill set. So even if I was, I don't know that I would thrive in that environment.
Yeah. So was there anybody in the family that was in the garment industry, or you're the first one really to kind of spearhead and get into this business?
No, no one is. The closest we got, like I said, was going to Boscov's. No, I just, I went to Catholic school and I had to wear a uniform from first
Mhm.
grade to 12th grade. And I think that that practice of having those pieces of clothing that you knew how they looked on you. You knew you had to press them and iron them. Whenever you came into a room, if you had your uniform on, you automatically looked elevated. For me, it suited my body type. I was comfortable wearing it. So hopefully a lot of my friends and other students feel that way too. But, you know, I knew I looked good. I looked put together and presentable. After a decade and a half of wearing a uniform, I just came up with a new uniform. It just happened to be black, white, and gray clothing. I also grew up on a 12-acre horse farm in Leesport, which
Nice.
I guess if you are in Berks County is considered rural, but there really wasn't much going on, especially fashion wise. And I don't know why, but my mom always made it a point to take me into Manhattan when I was very little. Just the two of us. We just go walk around. Sometimes we'd see a show. We'd go through all the big stores. We had no business being in, Barney's or Saks Fifth Avenue, but we were just looking around,
That's great.
looking at the displays, really getting inspired, seeing what the world had to offer, clothes and accessories wise. So that probably subconsciously had
Mm. Oh, yeah.
something to do with it. I still feel very comfortable in New York alone,
Hmm.
doing nothing, just walking around. I don't know if that's normal or not,
Yeah,
but that probably had a big part of it now that I'm saying it
absolutely.
out loud.
Yeah, especially like over the holidays, going seeing
Oh,
the way that the windows are done, and just it's amazing. It's
it
such
really
an
is.
experience, right? It's like
There's nothing
visual,
like it.
everything, the sounds, the smells of New York. I mean, going into the stores and
Yes.
just smelling the colognes and
Oh my gosh, absolutely.
everything.
Leslie, I can still remember the first time I walked into Macy's, that green carpet and like a sea of cosmetic and fragrance salespeople literally throwing scents at you and
Right?
the grand decorations. I feel it's not really important in the scheme of life for my children to experience that, but it's definitely unmatched. I mean, you can't
Right?
explain that unless you're actually in that store. It's
Yeah,
wild.
that's really cool. I just know that as a little girl, my Italian grandmother from Naples used to say,
Mhm.
"Let's spritz ourselves."
Yes.
And then we'd go try to find my mom, and once we found my mom, she'd be like, "You smell like a
Yeah.
perfume factory. What are you
Yes.
girls doing?" And we're
Yes.
like, "Oh, we're getting into mischief. We're just spraying." To this day, I do that, and my girlfriends are like, "That's tacky." I'm like, "No, I grew up with that, so I like to spritz myself."
And
But
this
it
is what I
is,
mean. That's
right,
that you just said it. You were with your mom and your grandmother. I mean,
right?
it's it's weirdly a really important rite of passage, I think, at
Mhm.
some time of your life. But, I'm sure you notice this and many Americans do. Not only are those grand experiences not happening, like there are no stores anywhere for any experience. They're just closed. There's,
Yeah.
graveyards of retail everywhere and it's very sad to me.
Well, that's another question. This is great for you to parlay into the next question was, over the last 20 years, we've seen a lot of changes with
Yeah.
just like public relations, marketing, everything now is virtual, websites. And I don't know, I'm old school. I like feeling fabrics, the textures
Mhm.
of the construction of the garments. I guess that's in our DNA
Yeah.
with your schooling, my schooling. And the kids today, they just love like just ordering something on Amazon. They get it. If they don't like it, they send it back. And like you said, I love going like to King of Prussia,
Yeah.
visually looking at things. So how are you shifting gears and how has your business changed, or just everything that you're doing now with promoting your things? Is it a lot of TikTok and Instagram? And like you said, I really miss going into a retail brick and mortar and touching the fabrics.
Yeah. I That's an excellent question. I The first thing I did was start online just because,
Mm.
excuse me, it's the obvious. And like you
Yeah.
just said, everyone and everything is online from my 13-year-old son to, my 75-year-old grandmother. You have to be online. I will say, things are business as usual online. I try to provide as much customer service as I can virtually through emails,
Mm.
phone calls, texts. I text a lot of my customers. I also challenge myself to build some sort of relationship through email. I don't know. Like you just said, old school. You'd go to a store and you'd find the person that you like to shop with, the sales person that you liked, and they would call you when something came in, which is, I'm not going to call all of my customers unless they tell me to,
Mm-hmm.
but I'll email them, this is coming in, it's going to look great on you, just like you would do in person. So that is a shift there. I try to do as much of that providing virtually.
Mm-hmm.
I will say when we have live events, like this weekend, we're going to be in Chestnut Hill. They have a beautiful Fall for the Arts festival that my husband and I traveled to last year. Have you ever been?
No, but I had a gallery in Manayunk, but I haven't been to Chestnut Hill since I went to Philadelphia Textile, which is now Jefferson University, because we were so
Yes.
close. But
Yes.
that's something I would love to experience. So it's this weekend.
Yep. It's Sunday and it is such a phenomenal event. I can't guess how many people were there last. I mean, there must have been 10,000 people on Germantown Avenue. It was, you couldn't move.
Wow.
And it's a really good example of, and even in Chestnut Hill, that does have really beautiful retail options, especially for women.
Yeah.
My husband even said, these people are coming in here and they want to talk to you. And Leslie, it was 99 degrees last year because falls are hotter now. It was so hot. I had as much merchandise as I could possibly bring because you want to give people, what they want when you're there, even though I ship.
Mm-hmm.
People touching everything, wanting to try things on, asking you questions, and literally telling you it's so nice that you're actually selling this. It's so nice that you're doing this because you have very limited options. Everyone has their targets. And there's a time and a place for everything. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but everyone has a target. We all have access to Amazon at the touch of our fingertips on our phones. People are really missing human to human contact in a store setting. And I didn't put this in my bio, so I'm glad we're talking about this. I now offer my merchandise at the Iron Bird, which is in Chester Springs.
Okay.
It's a beautiful building with multiple other um, and artists and vendors. If you ever have the chance to travel down there, it's about 35 minutes from Berks County, right on Route 100. You know, it's always full. There's always people shopping in person. It's so refreshing to see the foot traffic that comes through there because there really is a need for in-person shopping. And I don't know what part I'm going to play. I hope it is even a small part in somehow bringing that back.
Oh my gosh, I'm getting like goosebumps. I would love that. I mean, I remember, and you probably do, Donickers.
Yes, yes,
That was
exactly.
truly an experience where you always would go to the person that, salesperson that always
Yes.
worked like a wardrobe specialist. She knew
Mhm.
your style, your body silhouette. And it was such an incredible experience just going through Donickers, getting that really like you felt like a princess, like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, like this is great, down to the shoes, accessories. And then they had an incredible restaurant, a French restaurant.
Yes,
And
exactly.
would have lunch there. And it was just that whole experience. I think the downhill of the demise of Donickers was they opened up, they had a furniture store and a huge, they had a barn that, had all, and I think they just over, stocked. It just started going downhill and they couldn't keep up with, so I don't know. But then they slowly phased everything out and closed it. But that was there before we even moved from New York to Pennsylvania. And
Yep.
that was such an incredible experience. So I hope what you're saying will come to fruition. And we need that. We need that camaraderie, that just the connection and the rapport that you are building with your clients.
Yes, I remember Donickers just the way that you do as well. That was a special treat.
Yeah.
You were going to get a dress for a very special event. You were going to grab a delicious meal. again, time with people you love, your mom, your grandmother, your aunt, your friends. It was a whole experience. And, as we're going into our third year, we're constantly looking for what we can do right here in Berks County in Wyomissing where we live.
Yeah.
And I won't ever give up on that. So we
Good.
don't need to worry about that. It's just about timing and the right scenario. There were a few places that we did consider locally, but we had to make the best decision so we can do this
Yeah.
long term instead of let's give this a shot and see what happens, because we don't want that.
I know. And the selfish side of me is we need people like you in Penn Avenue and West Reading. Love when I could go into a store and be like, oh my gosh, they have great merchandise, good eye, the person that owns, like it's just, but I love what you're saying. And I'm looking forward to seeing your collection for fall and to take that plunge and leap of faith and get rid of probably 90% of my stuff in my
Oh,
closets.
I'll have to hear a follow-up on that.
Definitely. So we would love to know, all our viewers and listeners, what is the best way to connect with you?
So it's very easy. The website, which is blackwhitegrayeveryday.com.
Mm-hmm.
If you're on social media, it's at blackwhitegray_everyday. The phone numbers, all of the emails come to me. I check them from 6 a.m. until 11 p.m. Over Small Business Saturday weekend, just after Thanksgiving, I will be on Penn Avenue. I have a very good friendship with Melinda, who owns Bold Cafe at the corner of 6th and Penn Avenue. And she is letting me use the boutique space. So I'll have everything that weekend here in West Reading. The Berks County shoppers, the Wyomissing shoppers, I cannot tell you how loyal they are and how supportive and how much of a pleasure it is to work with them, especially on such a fun weekend. Small Business Saturday weekend, on a side note, last year at Bold was phenomenal, Leslie.
Wow.
You wouldn't believe all the different parts of Berks County people came out, not with something in mind, just simply, I'm coming in here to support all the businesses
Mm-hmm.
today. I don't even know what you sell, but this is why I'm here, to see what you have. It was really refreshing.
That's nice. Yeah.
Berks County is filled with a lot of great people.
Yeah. Oh my
I'm really
gosh.
grateful.
Yeah. We don't want to let everybody know, but when people ask me, like, where is that? I'm like, well, or I've never heard of Wyomissing. I said, but have you heard of Taylor Swift?
Yes,
I said, she's from Wyomissing and went to
exactly.
elementary school here. So,
Right?
this was her old stomping grounds. But
Yeah,
it's a beautiful community,
it is.
centrally located, affordable, excellent school systems. I mean, the
Yes.
surrounding areas, horse farms, just
Yep.
beautiful. So it's definitely a win-win. 2 hours, 2.5 hours or so to get into Washington, to Manhattan. So
Yep.
yeah, it's a great place to raise a family
It
and
is.
to have a business. So it was such a pleasure having
Oh,
you on my
thank you for having me, Leslie. It was great talking to you too. I feel like I could talk to you about these things for days.
wonderful. And for everybody, yeah, that lives in Berks County, remember it's going to be after Thanksgiving. And what a great weekend to have something like that. And it's
Yeah.
great to go. I know over the years I would just start for the holiday shopping, buying gifts and just getting a jump start to get some great pieces
Exactly.
and supporting local business. So,
Yeah,
so with that, we'd love to have a follow up, maybe in the winter, just to see how you're doing, what's going on,
I would love that.
and to keep it really connected. So, thank you for all my viewers and listeners listening today to Keep It Dirty. And remember, if you could rate, review, and subscribe, that's the way I get these wonderful guests and exposure to get the community involved with some great projects. And remember to get out there, ground with Mother Earth, and keep it dirty. Take care.